I'm Bob the Canadian, and tonight what we will do, well, I know it's not night where you are necessarily, but what we will do is if you want to ask me questions about the English language, I will be very, very happy to answer them for you. The way that you ask questions is you look over there in the chat, and Todd, who is helping me, will post a link in the chat, and that link will take you to a form, and you can use that form to ask me questions about the English language. What we will do, well, I know it's just checking to make sure everything's working. Sounds like everything is working really, really well. Anyways, if this is your first time here, don't forget to click that subscribe button down below, and I hope that I can help you learn just a little bit more English. So I'm going to just jump right into this. I'm going to get started. Hello to everyone who is waiting in the chat. It was fun to talk to you early on. First question is from Spirit. Spirit says, how to use get and have when you're talking about doing something. I made a small correction there, for someone, or they do something for you. So that's tricky because the word get, the verb get, has a lot of different meanings, and it's also part of a lot of different phrasal verbs. So what I can say for now is that you could get help from people. That is one example of how you would use the word get, or you could have someone help you. I'm not sure I'm answering your question clearly, Spirit, but that is a real tricky one to answer in a short period of time. But you do have a couple of example sentences there from me right now. So you can get help from someone, or you can have someone help you when you're talking about doing something for someone. So you can get help, or you can have someone help you. I hope that made some sense. Let's move on to the next question. Is from Andre Cruciante. Says, hi Bob, could you tell me what nag is, and what does the expression what a nag mean? So nag can act as a verb as well as a noun, and when you say that someone is nagging you, it means that they are bugging you. So nag means to bug or to bother. So if I was to say, you know, that person keeps nagging me, it means that they want me to do something and they keep asking me about it. Sometimes in the chat, people will ask the same question over and over again, and that can be a little bit like nagging. When someone does a lot of nagging, you can say that they are a nag. You know, oh, that person is such a nag. They're constantly nagging me. So hopefully, Andre, that helped you understand a little bit more. Next question is from Lolly Lolly. Hi, Lolly Lolly. Hi, Bob the Canadian. I heard the expression. So the expression is to go viral. You've typed go to viral, but the expression is actually to go viral. Is it a common expression? Merci, Bob, you go viral, right? So yes. So when something goes viral on the internet, it means that a lot of people see it or watch it in quick succession. So I have had a couple of videos where you could say they went viral, or they were videos that went viral, because a lot of people watch those videos in a short period of time. I think if you do a search for the video about learning English at a hotel, that video went somewhat viral. Or learning English around the house, that video as well went somewhat viral. So when something goes viral, we're talking about on the internet, and it just gets a lot of views really, really quickly. Deekshanch has the next question. Says, as a native English speaker, how hard was it for you to learn to pronounce nasal vowels in French? Très difficile. It was very hard, and I still don't do them correctly. I have trouble with nasal sounds. Those are sounds where you use the sound chamber in your nose as well, and I have trouble rolling my R's. I tend to say très, très, so I make a ch sound instead of a true R roll. So when I speak French, I probably sound quite English. Let's see here. Questions are coming in rapidly. That's awesome. Let's see here. Grace Z has the next question. She says, what is the meaning of psycho? So a psycho is someone who is crazy. So if we say that someone, maybe that you know someone who has committed a lot of horrible crimes, and they have done more than one crime, sometimes we say that person's a psycho. we think that they're crazy. So they're a person who is not a good person in society. They are a crazy person. So that's what psycho would mean. For some reason, Brolio keeps talking about how Ecuador is the #1 country for exporting bananas. That's excellent, Brolio. Thank you. But I'm going to skip that question because you've asked it a few times already. We'll go to the next question, which is from Renata. Renata says, hello, Bob. Hello, Renata. Tickled pink to see you. Is this idiom used nowadays? Thank you. So it is. I'm not sure younger people use tickled pink. When you are excited to see someone, you will say, oh, I'm tickled pink to see you. Or I was tickled pink because I got to go to a concert for my favorite band. So when you're tickled pink, it means you're happy. It means you're excited. It is a fairly common phrase, but we don't hear it as much anymore. I don't think we do, at least. I don't use it very often. Next question is from Flavio. Flavio says, hello, Bob. I'm Flavio. Hello, Flavio. Again, I know you've been here a few times. What is the best way of greeting someone? Thanks. So the best way to greet someone is to say hello. I know there's a lot of English lessons on YouTube where they say, don't say hello. Don't say, how are you doing? But honestly, in everyday English, we often say hi and we often say hello. Those are our two most common greetings. You will hear them quite a bit. I'm going to try and stay somewhat ahead of the game here. Bayan Darwish says, is there a difference between the word privilege and advantage? So a privilege, when you are privileged, it means that you have things that you didn't work for, okay? Or if I say something is a privilege, it means it's something that you're allowed to do. But when I say that something is an advantage, it means that you are better at it than someone. I think you need to look those two words up because they're somewhat similar, but there is a little bit of a difference between the two. So that wasn't a great answer from me, but it was an answer. Hopefully that helped a bit. Renata says, does the idiom throw someone overboard mean the same as throw in the towel? Not necessarily. I would say to throw something or someone overboard is not a very common idiom anymore, but throw in the towel definitely is. If I was to decide not to do YouTube anymore, I would say that I've decided to throw in the towel. It means that I'm quitting. I'm not quitting, by the way. I'm going to keep doing YouTube for a very long time. But that is a common phrase. The first one, not so much. Let's see here. Fabiano says, is there a difference between scam and bait? So a scam is when someone tries to trick you into giving them your money. So sometimes you will have what's called a phone scam, where someone will call you on the phone and they will try to scam you. Okay, so they will try to convince you to give them money. They'll tell you a story that isn't true. Bait, on the other hand, is something that you use. Well, originally for fishing, you put bait on a hook and you throw it in the water, and the bait is something the fish will bite. But we can also use the word bait for humans. So you can do things that you use as bait, to get humans to do things. But generally, the original would be something that you would use when fishing. Saeed has a great question here. What's the difference between I was wondering and I'm wondering? There's no real difference. I was wondering means that you were wondering something in the past, and I'm wondering means you're thinking about it right now, but you can use both. So I could say, I was wondering if a lot of people would show up tonight, or I could say, I'm wondering if a lot of people will show up tonight. So fairly similar, those two for sure. Let's see here. Next one is from Miguel. Today I saw, let me get that posted. Miguel says, today I saw Fake Me Out. Please give me more meaning about it, or a better meaning for fake me out. When you fake someone out, it means you do a certain action to try and get them to believe you're doing something. The best example would be in the game of football or soccer. When one player tries to fake out the other player. So they pretend they're going one way, but they quickly switch direction. So when you fake someone out, it means that you've tricked them, okay? We see it a lot in sports where, the person with the ball is running and they will kind of fake the defender out. They'll pretend to go one way and then the other, and we would say that they faked them out. Let's see here. Next question is from Anon. A few words here. Hi, Bob. Please, I want to know the difference between these words. So I did fix your question there. Bob, please, I want to know the difference between these words. Creepy, odd, weird, strange, and bizarre. Thank you so much. So they all mean a little bit, almost lost my voice there. They all mean very similar things, and you can use them interchangeably. So you could say he was a creepy old man. He was an odd old man. He was a weird old man. He was a strange old man, or he was a bizarre old man. So they all work very much the same. You can use them all interchangeably. Let's see here. Let me clean up my questions for a sec, and then we will move on. Next question is from Renata. So Renata says, how do you pronounce the word betrothed? So that is a tricky one. Is it obsolete? It is somewhat obsolete. When you are betrothed to someone, it means that you are promised in marriage. So you are going to marry that person. And we don't use it a lot anymore. But you might read it. If you are doing a lot of reading in English, you might run into the word betrothed from time to time. Let's see. Faith has the next question. How to use intonation and voice position to sound more natural in Canadian English. I would say the best way to sound more natural is to use contractions. So instead of I do not, you say I don't. And then to use reductions. So instead of I do not and I don't, you say I don't know. And also try to listen for and imitate when we connect words together. We often, when we're talking, the words slide into each other. So listen to those sounds as well. That's the best way to sound more like a native speaker, for sure. Bianca says, hi, Bob. What's the difference between Merry Christmas and Happy Christmas? So it's Merry Christmas with an E. So Merry Christmas and Happy Christmas. In Canada and in the United States, we often say Merry Christmas. My understanding is that in Britain, they often say Happy Christmas. So they are the same. It is a greeting that we use at the Christmas season. And you can use either, but Merry Christmas sounds the most normal here in Canada. I'm just smiling because I can see the chat says, I love you, Canada. Thank you. Penguino says, hello, Bob. What are your views on extraterrestrial life? I don't have any opinions on sports or politics or extraterrestrial life or religion during my lessons because it causes controversy. But I actually, on that one, I don't think there is alien life. I'm not sure. Who knows? But my current feeling is that they would have visited us by now if there were, for sure. Igor has the next question. Igor says, hello, Bob. Please explain the meaning of the word for. In tennis, we say forehand. What other examples can I use? So forehead, forehand, it means kind of the front. So the F-O-R-E means like forehand. I'm trying to think if there's another one, but forehand and forehead are the two that I can think of off the top of my head. Let's see here. Next one is from Saeed. Saeed says, which one is correct? There's a ton of something, or there are a ton of something. So we say there is a ton of something. Okay, we would not say there are a ton of something. Because even though it sounds like you should be using there are, it's actually more correct to say there is. So there is a ton of them. There is a ton of something. And when we use ton for the rest of you, it means that there are a lot. Okay. Let's see here. Let me clean up. I got some duplicate questions here, so I'm going to kind of flip between them. Next question is from Jose from Brazil. What is the difference between anyway and anyways? So That's a tricky one because we in informal speech, we use them the same way. Like, I'm going to do this live stream anyways, or I'm going to do this live stream anyway. So that would mean that no matter what, I'm going to do it. I highly recommend that you look up a good description of the difference between those two words, for sure. Let's see here. Eunice has the next question. How to take notes from videos so you can study them? Well, first of all, if you're watching YouTube videos and if they have a transcription or if they have captions or subtitles, on a computer, you can actually view the subtitles on the side. You can't do it on the app, but I highly recommend if you can get the transcription or the captions or subtitles from a video that you read it first and then you watch the video. It is a really good way to practice your English. Let's see here. Next question is from Brolio. Brolio says, do you play chess? I used to a long time ago, but I don't play very much anymore. Next question is from Saeed. What's the difference between something and some things? So that's a tricky one because I would say there are some things that bother me in life. But the other day I went to the store because I had to buy something. So it's simply a matter of usage and when you need the plural. We can't see the questions in the chat. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder why that would be. You sure you don't have me timed out or silenced for some reason? That would be a weird thing to have happen. Hello, can you see this? Please respond yes or no. I'm just going to wait for a second, see what Todd says. I'm not sure why you guys can't see me in the chat. Let me try one thing here. I'm going to just refresh my screen and then we'll go from there. Let me just click on this. Give me 2 seconds, people. I'm just trying to figure something out. Oh, I see. I understand what's happening. Just give me one moment here. I will fix it. I'm not sure what happened, but somehow I think I got signed out of YouTube. So we're going to test something. Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you see this? And I bet you can, because I bet you the... Oh, I see. Interesting. Well, sorry about that, folks. Sometimes things get messed up a little bit. So I'm just waiting for confirmation from Todd that he can see what I just posted in the chat. And we will go from there. Hopefully that will fix things. Testing 1, 2, 3. You know, sometimes when you use technology, this is what happens. Little strange things happen. Let's see here. So you can't see what I type in the chat. Interesting. Wonder why that would be. Let me just try one more thing here. Usually things go smoothly during my live streams. You're signed out of... That's interesting. I know it's probably fun for you to watch me sit here all puzzled and wondering why things aren't working. What's happening is that when let me just try something different. I'm going to sign into a different account and see if that account actually works. Testing 1, 2, 3. Oh, so that shows up for me. By the way, I spelled testing wrong. Just going to wait for a moment. Can you see this? Tech sucks. So Lolly Lolly says tech sucks, expressing her desire to have technology that works all the time. I guess that's what that frustration would mean. So let me just try one other thing. You never know. Sometimes you have to flip things around. Okay, so if I use my second account, it will work. Let me see if my first account works again. Hello, everyone. So Todd, if you could tell me, I switched back to my main account. Can you just tell me if that's working? I hope it's working now. I refreshed my screen and hopefully we can continue on with the lesson. Let me get a drink of tea. Okay, let's keep going. I was talking about something and some things, but I'm going to move on. Let's see here. Rosalinda has the next one. So hopefully you can see the question now. I see it on my screen here. So hopefully that means it's working. When do I have to use aim and what does it mean in a sentence? Well, generally we use the word aim. The simplest is if you're using a weapon and you need to point it at someone, but that's not the most common usage of aim. Usually we use it for something that we're trying to do. So I aim to do a really good live lesson. I aim to do a good job when I'm doing a live stream. So that is my goal. So when you aim for something, it is something that is your goal. Let me get the next question here. This is from Ielia. Ielia says, can I get great English just by lessons online? You can get really good at speaking a language just by learning it using the internet. There are some important things to remember though. At a certain point, you will need to hire someone on italki or Preply or Cambly or one of those websites. You can learn a lot just by watching YouTube and reading and doing your own writing practice, but it is good to eventually hire someone who will help you. Next question is from Talis. Talis says, hello, Bob. What is the difference between go for a run and go running? So I am going to go for a run, not right now, or I am going to go running. They mean the same thing, okay? Basically, it means that you're going to go run for exercise. That's what those two would mean. Let me clean up my questions here. Let's see here. Saeed says, I clicked in the wrong spot. Maybe that's what happened before. Saeed says, what's the difference between write out and write down? So when you write out something, it usually means that you're reading something and you're going to write out the thing that you're reading. Or you're thinking of an answer in your head for a test and you're going to write it out on a piece of paper. When you say that you're going to write something down, it's somewhat similar, but I would say it's more like, I'm going to write down the things that I need at the grocery store. I'm going to write down some items that I need to buy later. So probably for shorter things. They do mean almost the same thing though. But I wouldn't write out a grocery list. I would write down the things I need, or I would simply write a grocery list. Let's see here. Brolio says, can you speak Spanish? No, I cannot speak Spanish. I am not that gifted at all. Kingbird says, are slink and lurk the same thing? So when you slink, it means you kind of move in a sneaky way. And when you lurk, it usually means that you're standing in the dark or hiding a bit and watching someone. So they are different for sure, slink and lurk. Let's see here. Next question is from Javier. Javier, hi Bob, is the Canadian accent more similar to the British or American accent? It is more American than it is British, for sure. It's definitely I sound more like an American than I do like someone from Britain. Let's see here. Philip says, what is the difference between may and could? And then the TY means thank you. Thanks a lot. So may I ask you a question? Could I ask you a question? In that situation, they mean exactly the same thing, okay? So may I ask you a question? Could I ask you a question? Both are very polite and a good way to ask something like that. Queenbird says, Are cheesy and corny the same thing? So yes, in some ways you could say that show was really corny. And that would mean that it was like funny, but in an odd kind of way. Or you could say that show was really cheesy, which would mean the same thing. So I would say corny and cheesy mean almost exactly the same thing. Yeah, and we do use those words quite a bit. You would say, oh, when I was watching that movie, that one scene was really corny, or it was really cheesy. Lima has the next question. Lima says, hi, Bob. When I hear the word you'll in a sentence, I hear the you. This is normal. So this is normal. So you'll hear that a lot. You'll hear that a lot. So you'll hear that a lot. You'll hear that a lot. We do say the L, like we do hit that L fairly hard when we say you'll. Okay, you'll hear that a lot. Let's see here. Grace. This is a great question, Grace. Which word is correct? Practice with the letter C. I need to make this the right way. Or practice with the letter S. So here's the deal. In America, so in the United States, they almost always just use practice, okay? But if you look at the title that I gave this is an English practice lesson. So that is the noun form. So you can practice English during a practice lesson. That's how we would say it in Canada. So we would use practice with an S as a verb, and we would use practice with a C as the description of the lesson. So this is the type of lesson it is. So that's the difference between practice and practice. I guess in the US, they just decided that they only needed one spelling, which makes a lot of sense to me. Hey, I'm going to pause and say hello to the 370 people watching. Thank you very much for being here. If you're new here, don't forget to click the subscribe button over there. And we are going to go till 8 o'clock tonight. And I should let you know that at 8 o'clock, Sean from Free 99 English, I'm pretty sure he's still planning to do a live lesson. Maybe Sean can tell us in the chat. He mentioned to me earlier today that he was doing a live lesson at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so in about 33 minutes. So if he is doing that, I will post a link in the chat to that at the end of this. But we got a bit of time yet. I'm going to keep on going here. Shadowbird says, how to use the word grasp. So you can grasp onto someone. So you can grasp onto someone's arm or hand. But we also use it to say, if you know something, like I have a pretty good grasp of the French language. That means I understand the French language. So Sean in the chat is saying that he is planning to do a live English lesson at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's in 30 minutes. I will get the link from him in about 25, 30 minutes, and I'll get that to you guys if you are interested in watching his. He does a great live stream, by the way. He might try and do Kahoot tonight. You'll have to ask him. Maybe Sean, let us know in the chat if you're planning to try to do Kahoot tonight. Next question is from Miroslav. Hi, Bob and Todd. Hi, Miroslav. By the way, thanks for the book, Miroslav. I am about a quarter of the way through it, and I am fascinated by the Serbian people. It is very interesting. Bob, please pronounce this in English. Bob the Canadian is the best teacher on YouTube, and Todd is the best admin. And then pronounce these words, I guess. Gown, gnaw, thaw, toward, worse, and the worst. So those two last ones, worse and the worst. Okay. Eduardo in the chat says, my first live with Bob. It's great. Thanks, Eduardo. That's really cool. Let me clean up my questions, everybody. And we'll keep moving on. Kaio. I always have trouble with your name. Caio says, hello, Bob. I'm Caio from Brazil. What is the difference between this and that? So generally, I like to explain it in terms of distance. So when something is in front of you, you would say this cup. And if something's far away, I would say that cup. Okay? That's not a complete example, but it is a good way to do it. Sean from Free 99 says, yes, I'm making the quiz right now on Kahoot. That's awesome, Sean. Anyways, this cup, and then that cup over there. Those would be the two. Deek Shanch says, I skipped your question. I think I deleted it too. Let's see here. Oh, there it is. Sorry. I'm glad I saw that in the chat, Deek Shanch. Deek Shanch's question is, I have one more question. How effective, I feel really bad about that. I did not do that on purpose. That was an accident. I have one more question. How effective is Duolingo in learning languages, in your opinion? Did it help you in improving French? I am learning German from it. Danke. So I think Duolingo is a great tool. I think it's only one part of the equation. I think that I did Duolingo every day when I was refreshing my knowledge of French. I did the entire Duolingo in about 10 months' time. But along the way, I was also using Anki. I was also watching one French television show every evening. I did, I think, almost 70 Skype sessions with a couple people in other countries to practice my French. I was reading in French. I converted all my television watching to French. So Duolingo is great, but it is not the only thing. But what I liked about it is it reminded me every day that I needed to study. So that was really cool, for sure. Let me clean up my questions. I'm really glad that I went back and answered that one. Let's see here. Next question is from Charlo. Hello, Bob. I just want to ask, are the verbs loan and lend interchangeable? If not, how should they be used? Thank you. So in a certain way, they are. So I can say that I am willing to loan you some money. I am willing to lend you some money. Okay. But we also use loan to describe something that you get at the bank. So you can go to the bank and get a loan. Okay. The bank will lend you money, and it is called a loan, okay? There was a question that just went by. Is Duolingo or Babbel better to learn English? Well, I used Duolingo and Babbel and Yabla, and I can't remember all of the things I used when I was practicing my French. Memrise. I just would use everything. You know, there's no sense in thinking one product's better than the other. Just find the time and use everything that you can find to practice your language skills. Esau says, hey, Bob, what's the difference between walk and walk up? So I can walk up to a house. If I'm on the road and there is a sidewalk to the house, I can walk up to the house. But when you walk, it's just the general act of walking, okay? So there is a slight difference. I recommend that you look for all of the phrasal verbs with walk. So walk by, walk up to, walk down, and study those. I'm not going to explain them all now. But next question, Marlon, is it common for native speakers to use short words in order to say a whole phrase? For example, ASAP, which means as soon as possible. Yes, we do that quite a bit. I can't think of any quickly, but ASAP is definitely one of them. When we're writing and we want to say etc., we just put etc. But it is fairly common. It's not something that's super important to study if you're learning English, because I don't think there is an overwhelming amount of them. But it is something that you will run into from time to time. Let's see here. Next question is from Masil. Hey, Bob, I'm Masil from Morocco. Thanks for everything. Please, what's the difference between find and found? Well, sometimes I find that people ask a lot of questions. And when I did my live stream yesterday, I found that a lot of people ask questions. So maybe use those two sentences there and try to figure out the difference between the two. Like tomorrow I'm going to find, today I find, and yesterday I found. There might be a tense difference there. You'll have to think about it for a little bit. This is the first time Bob the Canadian doesn't give the answer right away. But think about the future and today, and think about the past, and then think about those those two words. Let's see. Andre Louise says, hi, Bob. Hi, Andre. Well, it just moved on me. Is there anything that people usually do on New Year's Eve in your country, like a custom? Hugs from Rio de Janeiro. Usually people go to a party or they go hang out with friends or family. So we ourselves, we spend New Year's Eve with people who we are related to. We actually go to Jen's sister's house, and that's generally what we do on New Year's Eve. Sometimes they come here. Sometimes we go to Jen's family's house. Sometimes we go to my family's house. So there are a lot of things that we sometimes do on New Year's Eve. Let's see here. I don't know the answer to this question. Nori says, hello, Mr. Bob. I'm from Japan. Could you tell me what does down of downtown mean? All I know is downtown is like the main part of a town, okay? In French, we would say centre-ville. So it's like the center of the town. I don't know why we have the word down in there, though. It's interesting. Let's see. Grace, we don't use this phrase anymore. I'll lay your ship bare. I'm just going to look it up. It probably means that you're going to to destroy someone or take everything of value from them. It's probably something you heard in a pirate movie. You know, pirates have a patch on their eye. I love you like, I'll lay your ship bare. That's my pirate accent for the evening. Next question is from Polite Bird. Hello, sir. How can I use the word numb? Well, sometimes when you lay on your arm gets numb. It feels all pringly. Pringly, that's not the right word, but your arm goes to sleep and then your arm is numb and then you kind of shake it to kind of fake. Sorry, I was just seeing myself act like a pirate on my screen in front of me. I hope you guys found that entertaining. Maybe I'll do a live lesson on International Pirate Day, Talk Like a Pirate Day, and I'll talk like a pirate the whole time. Daniel Trujillo says, hi, Bob. Could you please tell me how to use nearby and what the difference is between near and close to? So there are a lot of towns near my house, or I live nearby. Yeah. Okay, let me think about this one for a minute. So he lives nearby, or he lives near me. You wouldn't say he lives near if that sentence feels like it ends too quickly. So nearby would be the same as close to. Yes, he lives nearby. He lives close to me. Those would be two example sentences of those two. That was probably my worst explanation tonight of something. So let me just clean up my questions here. This next one is from Talis Ni. I was watching a movie yesterday on Netflix, on Netflix, but I couldn't understand everything. So how can I improve my listening? So there's a couple things you can do. One is hopefully you were able to turn on the English subtitles. That can be quite helpful. You could also, this is a little harder, but you can watch the movie twice and first watch the movie in your own language and then watch the movie again a second time in English with the subtitles on. That can be quite helpful, okay? That is a really, really great strategy for practicing your listening skills. Eventually, you will want to watch it without subtitles of any kind in English, but that would be my recommendation. Number one, watch it with English subtitles on. Number two, watch the movie in your own language first, and then immediately watch it again in English or watch it in English the next day. Next question is coming up. Let's see here. Azrael says, hi, Bob. I live in Nottingham, and the locals are used to greeting with, are you all right? Someone we just met. What's the best answer to it? I reckon it's the same like someone asking, how do you do? Yeah, you could just say it's going good. That would be a common response in English. How's it going? Hey, is everything all right? And you would say, yeah, everything's going fine, or everything's going okay. That would be how I would answer those two. Let's see here. Patricia Lana says, hello, Bob. How can I use the word figured in a phrase? So when you are solving something, you can say, I figured out why the toaster isn't working. There you go. I figured out why the toaster isn't working. So there is the word figured in a sentence for you. It means that I determined why the toaster isn't working. Renata asks me, do you think the planet is flat? And then laughing out loud, no, I don't think the planet's flat. I know some people do. I don't want to get into a big discussion about whether the Earth is flat or not. But I definitely think it's round. I've seen pictures from space. I don't think they're fake. Belgian Brussels says, when do you use for and it? Thanks. That's a pretty broad question. This lesson is for learning English. I hope you like it. So there in my first sentence, I said this lesson is for learning English. You will need to study all of the uses of the word for. And then I replace lesson with it in the second sentence. So I use an object pronoun. So that's where it's from. Grace says, nope, I didn't see it in a pirate movie. You probably would, though, if you watched a pirate movie. You probably would see that phrase. Let's see. Next one. Alex says, hello, Bob. Can you give me more examples of words in English that have really different pronunciation from how they're spelled? Example, kernel. So I did a live lesson on that about 7 or 8 months ago. If you search for that, I did it on words that look way different than what you would expect. So I would search for that. I can't think of any, Alex, right off the top of my head. Next question is from Mark. What word is more commonly used in Canada? Metro, subway, or underground? I think they're all used to some degree. We use train for if something's above ground, and we use subway in the city of Toronto. You can take the subway. We don't often use underground, and I can't remember if Montreal uses the word metro. I think they might in the city of Montreal. Brolio says, which one is correct? The team has won or the team... So the first one. I don't want to say the second one because it's incorrect. But I would say the team has won. You could say this is the first time the team has won. No, it would be the team has won. The second one, I'm trying to think if there's a use for that. The team have won. You could say the team... No, stick with the first one. The second one I think you could use sometimes, but the first one is definitely correct. The team has won. But there may be a few situations where you could use the second one. Just to pause again to say hi to the 385 people watching. I hope this is helping you a bit. We have about 15 minutes left in this lesson. When I'm done, another English teacher named Sean from Free 99 English, if Sean wants to say hi in the chat quickly, we'll be doing another live stream. If you're up for a second one, I will give you the link to that one once I know it. I'm just going to check his channel for a sec to see if he has it scheduled. And I don't see it scheduled, but I'm sure it will show up soon. Let me just test something. I'm just going to put the word testing down and see if that shows up. Yeah, so somehow I think I just got signed out again. So let me check something here. Just hold tight, everybody. I think that somehow I get signed out every once in a while from YouTube, and then I can't post the questions in the chat. So just give me a second here to test something. There, I think I'm back again. Let me just see. So Sean says he's scheduling that live stream. So it will pop up at 8 p.m. in about 15 minutes. I'll give you the link then. Let me go to the next question. Is from Giselle. Says, hi Bob, when do you write may be or maybe in one word? Oh, that's an interesting one. So it may be that you have to study English more, or maybe you have to study English more. Sorry, I'm not saying that you have to study English more, but there are two sentences there that kind of show you. So it may be that you have to study English more, or maybe you have to study English more. So it's a slight difference. I think you will get used to when to use one versus the other as you listen to more and more English and as you read it. But definitely sometimes we put it together. When we say maybe, we're basically saying it could be something like that. Let's see. I think I just got logged out again. We'll check in a minute. Nope, I think we're good. Mary Ann says, please do some English 30-2 lessons next time. Thank you. I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly what you're saying there, but I'm reading the question or the statement underneath from Deekshant. He says, maybe is an equivalent of perhaps and probably. Exactly. Excellent. Thanks, Deekshant. That's a great way to look at it. Let's see here. Nori says, hi, Mr. Bob. Hi, Nori. I'm from Japan. Could you tell me what is the difference between combo and set at restaurants? So in Canada, we only usually hear the word combo. So if I want a hamburger and I want French fries and I want a drink, I can buy it as a combo and then it's cheaper, which is short for combination. But we usually just say combo. Set, I have not heard in a Canadian restaurant, but I'm sure it probably would mean the same thing if I did hear it. Let's see here. Next question is from Lima. Hi, Bob. When a native says, I'll really fast, I hear all. Yes, you would. Example, all the time, I'll do my job. Am I right? So let me reread that for you. All the time, I'll do my job. There is a slight difference, but you wouldn't get caught if you said one or the other. So all the time, I'll do my job. Okay, it's actually I'll do my job, but we often say I'll do my job. So all the time, I'll do my job. I do think I'm saying it slightly differently, but it is very hard to hear, and I wouldn't worry about it. Anon wants to know, what is your favorite English words? Thank you. I don't know. That's hard to say. I like the word Shenandoah. That's a great word. It's a place in the United States, I think. But I don't really have a lot of other favorite words in English. I just like all of them. That's why I'm teaching English. Let's see here. Hoang says, I don't know how to pronounce R in the middle of words. That's because it's hard. Like a word like tomorrow is quite straightforward, right? Like tomorrow, you can hear the R's. It might be hard to say, but tomorrow, you can kind of stretch the word out, tomorrow. But if I say something like, what's another one? I'm trying to think of a word like temperature. So temperature. I hardly say the R when I say temperature. It's temperature, but I say temperature. So just keep listening and trying to shadow what English people are saying, and that would be a good way to practice that. Saeed says, I think something and some things both are plural. What's the difference then? I think you're going to have to look that one up. I'm not quite sure how to explain. I know earlier I said, I gave you a couple example sentences, Saeed. I like to think of something, or there are a lot of, look that one up. Maybe you could find a good video explaining the difference. I do know that when I think about the word something and some things, we don't often use the second one. Okay, if you were trying to think about which one to say in an English conversation, I would say go with something, not some things, okay? Because I think something is a far more common word and you're going to sound correct if you use it. Let's see here. Next question is from Mark from Barcelona. I love it that there's so many people from around the world. Mark from Barcelona says, what is the difference between that's it and that's all? So at the end of this live stream, I'm going to say, well, that's it, everybody. I'm still going. Don't leave yet. Or I could say that's all. They would mean the same thing in that situation for sure. Let's see. Next question is from Eunice. I do read a news article and I explain difficult words every day and I listen to 30 minutes of English. Do you think I will make any progress in 2020? So yes, I think you will make progress in your reading and in your listening. But don't forget that there's also writing and speaking. So if you are reading the news every day in English and you are listening to the news every day in English or listening to other English and you are looking up words, you're doing 3 of the 5 things that you need to do. So reading, writing, listening, speaking, and building your vocabulary, okay? So if you are listening and reading every day, don't expect that your speaking is going to improve a lot. Make sure you're working on all 5 things, okay? Let's see here. Paulo Roberto says, "Hi, Bob. I really like your great work as a teacher. Thank you very much. My question, what is the difference between fate and destiny? How can I use these words in real life conversation?" So it is my destiny to be a great English YouTube teacher. No, that's not my destiny, but that's how you would use that. It is my fate to always buy things for my children. So they kind of have slight differences in their meaning. I would for sure look them up, but you have 2 examples there. Destiny seems a little more positive, right? Like it's my destiny to live to be very, very old, or it is my fate to be stuck in the same job for the rest of my life. But I like my job, so anyways, fate. Destiny, a little more positive than fate. Let me check something here, and then I will pop back in. I just have to make sure that I have something ready to go. Okay, good. So next question is from Mr. Kin says, massage sending is good working in Korea, or message. Make sure we're using the right word here. Message and massage have different meanings. Meanings. So a message is when you send someone something like in writing. A massage is when someone rubs your shoulders. It makes you feel more relaxed. So make sure you're using the right one. Thanks, Mr. Kim, by the way. Bayan Darwish says, how many countries have you been to? So I've been to South Africa, the United States, the airport in France. I think that's all of them. I think that's all the countries that I have been to. This question has been asked before, though. Maybe some of you can remind me if I've been to another one. Mop says, hi, Bob. You say, I would say often. What's the difference between I would say and I think? So when I answer the question and I say, well, I would say this, it means that if I was in that situation, this is the sentence I would use, okay? I think when I say I think, which I just used, I think means in my mind I think this, okay? So when I use I would, what I'm trying to say is if I was in that, so if I was thirsty, I would drink some tea, okay? So I'm basically kind of putting myself in your shoes. That's an English phrase, by the way. I'm putting myself in your shoes to imagine what I would say in that situation. Let me clean up my questions here for a sec. And then Spirit wants to know, this is a very common question. How, can you tell me how do we use though? So if you are struggling with although and though, you should really watch a video or something that explains the difference between the two, because although I can explain it here, I'm not the best person to do it, okay? Because even though I could explain it really well, I think it would be better for you to watch another video. Although the explanation I just gave might help you a bit, though I still think you should watch another video. Okay, I just went through a whole bunch of sentences there where I used those 2 words. If you thought I was just rambling, I was actually trying to use though and although in a number of sentences. So watch this tomorrow and listen to that segment again. I think that would be good for you. Let's see here. Let me clear this up. Oh, here's a good one from Dennis, or Denis Welker says, "Hi Bob, what's the difference between where and were?" So, where did you go on vacation? So where did you go on vacation, right? The location. So who, what, where, when, how, all of those question words. But you could also say on vacation, there were a lot of people. I'm trying to type quickly. So there were a lot of people, okay? So there you go, where and were. Let's see, let me clear up. I have a lot of duplicate questions. Henry from Taiwan. Hi, Henry. How are you? Henry from Taiwan says, "Hi, Bob. Would you please pronounce pedal, paddle, pedal, and the difference between them? Thank you very much." So first of all, I pedal my bike, pedal. So I say the D, P-E-D-A-L. I say I pedal my bike. It does sound like a T. I paddle my boat, my canoe. So I paddle my canoe. And flowers have petals. So notice pedal and pedal. So I pedal my bike and a flower has a petal. So they are pronounced almost exactly the same. The T in petal is actually pronounced as pedal, okay? You can also, the old man was pedaling on the side of the road. It's another one for you. When you pedal, it means that you sell things to people. Hopefully that makes some sense. Mark says, "Is it summer now in Canada?" No, it is winter, but outside it is really, really warm. It was 6 or 7 degrees Celsius today. It was a lot warmer than I was expecting, for sure. Let's see here. Lima says, "How to learn to create sentences correctly." So a couple of things. One, you can practice by writing things out, but I often think that listening to a lot of English can lead to saying a lot of sentences correctly. I think we learn actively, but I think we also learn subconsciously. So it's important to practice on paper before you speak, but it's also important to listen to a lot of native English speakers. It can be very, very, very helpful, for sure. Let me see here. Renata says, "Is that your office or studio?" Yes, this is my office at home. Why 2 screens? Because a lot of times I will have my video editing software on one screen and I will have a web page open on the other screen. So I often do 2 things at once. This is because years ago, I used to work in the web design field. A long time ago, I built web pages, and then I would always have the web page on one screen and the code for the web page on the other screen. So yes, I have 2 screens behind me. And that is something I really, really like to have. Sometimes you can have your email open on one and your work open on the other one. Let me see here. I have to click over here. I have to click here. I'm actually doing a little bit of work right now. It looks like Sean is ready to start in 1 minute, and I'm going to wrap up in about 1 minute. Let's do a couple of questions here. Esther says, "Can you tell us the difference between fall down and, fell down? So fell down and fell over." So if I fell down, I can fall in any direction. If I fall over, I can fall in any direction. You don't really need to use one or the other. So the old man fell down, or the old man fell over. Both totally work if that's what you want to say. Hey, I'm just going to do a couple things here. First of all, hey, if you had trouble understanding any parts of this live lesson, it will be available tomorrow with English subtitles. It is great to watch this a second time. If you're new here, please hit that red subscribe button over there. I do new videos every Tuesday. a live lesson every Friday morning. Yesterday, we did a live lesson on pronunciation. If you haven't watched my last live lesson on pronunciation, it's worth watching again, okay? Because it does, I do go through a whole bunch of words, a whole bunch of pronunciations. And then if you haven't watched last Tuesday's video, I highly recommend that you watch that as well. I'm going to recommend to you now, as we end this, if you want to watch another live lesson, English lesson with Sean from Free 99 English, go right here. So there is a link in the chat right now to Sean's channel. Sean is going to do a lesson right now on phrasal verbs around the house. This lesson is over. Thank you so much for watching. You guys are awesome. Again, Sean's live lesson is starting now, and it is right here. I know some of you need to go to bed right now, and some of you need to start your day, but if you have time, head over and watch Sean for a little bit. Anyways, I'm Bob the Canadian. This was a really good lesson. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to push the button here, but before I do, don't forget to come back tomorrow and watch this again. You will not regret it. Have a great day. It was super fun doing this, and I will see you on Tuesday and on Friday and on Saturday. Bye.